back to another episode of Mashup. We're your hosts, Scott and Ariel.
That's right, and on this week's episode of Mashup, we take a look at the Shrine of Remembrance, as well as the art of cosplay. Now, Ariel, I'm wondering, how many landmarks in Melbourne can you name?
A few.
A few, let's go. What's
okay,
first?
so we've got right behind you, Melbourne Star,
Yep,
yes.
very good.
We've got
1.
Luna Park.
Luna Park 2.
Yes. The MCG.
3.
Eureka Tower.
4. Oh,
The cricket
really
town?
Well. The cricket town.
No, I don't know why I said that.
The cricket town?
I don't know.
I've never heard of the cricket town before.
Grounds. And the Shrine of Remembrance,
Shrine
right?
of Remembrance. Yeah. Well, today we're actually going to be looking at the Shrine of Remembrance. Have you visited it many times before?
I actually have a tram stop that is right outside of the Shrine of Remembrance, but
Don't know any interchange.
Yes, there you go. But no, I haven't actually been there, so we should have a look.
To check it out and let's revisit it now.
Scott, I found that really moving.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. It was incredibly moving. And I think we should reflect as well that 2014, it's the centenary since World War I started. And in Victoria, we lost 19,000 young Victorians during World War I. So that's why they actually built the Shrine of Remembrance, so their families could have somewhere to mourn them because they were largely buried overseas.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And the design, which we largely looked at in that story, was actually based on one of the 7th wonders of the world, the mausoleum at Halicarnassus, which is now, well, it's not, it was destroyed by earthquakes, but
probably
but it's now in modern day Turkey.
Yeah, and I'm sure you can find out more information if you do go to the Shrine of Remembrance. After the break, we'll be listening to the life of a Jesuit,
as well as exploring the significance of South Bank. We'll see you after the break. Welcome back to Mashup.
So, Scott, have you ever heard of the Jesuit?
Oh, I can't say that I have, Ariel. So what is a Jesuit?
Jesuit is the Society of Jesus, and I know that you know, that our viewers know, us as much as we know about a Jesuit.
You want to say no any more times? Let's incorporate that into a sentence again.
But don't worry, we have a Jesuit brother who is more than willing to explain to us the life of a Jesuit.
Let's find out more.
Hello,
How are you
hello,
doing?
hello, Paul. Hello. Good afternoon.
Yeah. How are you doing?
I'm very fine. I'm doing fine.
Good. Okay, just to start things off, you're part of the Jesuit, right?
Yes, what we call it, the Society of Jesus.
Yes.
For-
Could you give us a definition of what exactly is a Jesuit?
well, firstly, the Jesuits was founded in. It's a religious congregation founded by Saint Ignatius of Loyola and established the Society of Jesus in the 1500s. So that started off our group, a religious congregation called the Society of Jesus and commonly called as Jesuits. From there, from about 7 companions, the group has grown to even as big as 15,000 or 20,000. So the Society of Jesus has many works. I think in Australia, we're basically involved with schools, education. We're involved with social work. We're also involved in some media work and in some other mission areas. So the Society of Jesus is very diverse in its work. Maybe the most important thing for us is that we always try to find where the will of God is and where we could be of help to the people, especially to the poor and those who are in need.
What's it like to be a part of the Jesuit? I mean, what exactly is your position in the
Well,
Jesuit?
I'm a what we call because the Jesuits has priests and brothers, so I'm a brother. So I don't become a priest, so I remain a brother.
Okay.
So it's like to be it's because it's really a vocation, you know. It's a calling. Before I entered, I was working in the bank, so I was a professional and things. And I felt that there was a call of my own calling for my vocation, God's call. So, and that call is to become a religious and to have these vows. So what it's like, I mean, some are saying, are you not lonely if you're, a Jesuit, you don't have any wife, you couldn't have any girlfriend. But I meant, the work that we have, especially with the poor, is for me very fulfilling. And I think that's the center of our work, and of course at the same time our own relationship also with God. So that relationship with God and with specifically with Jesus has motivated us to really work with the poor.
Could you tell us a few things, like a few places you've been into?
The Jesuit is international religious congregation. So in Southeast Asia, we have Jesuits in Indonesia, Thailand, in Japan, in Korea, in East Timor, in Myanmar, so in Singapore. So we're all over Southeast Asia. I'm here in Australia because of a specific program for the Jesuits. So we have a kind of renewal program that we do. That's for about 7 months, and we usually do it outside our country. And so what we do here is that we get exposed to the work of the Jesuits here in Australia. 2 major works here in Australia. One are the schools. We have Xavier College, we have St. Aloysius College in Sydney, and St. Andrews Riverview also in Sydney. And also we have the work for social services. So we have the Jesuit social services, which I was also exposed to for a month. So I've interacted here in Australia with the migrants and asylum seekers. Just simple teaching English of the migrants and the asylum seekers, and just knowing their situation.
Earlier, you mentioned about calling. How exactly did you find your calling to become a Jesuit?
Well, it's a vocation to religious life is not just an instant thing that maybe just overnight. Oh, I think I want to be a religious. I want to serve God or the people. It took time. It took time for me. Maybe my experiences when I was still a student, I was much involved with church. And the turning point I have was the World Youth Day in the Philippines, which was way back in 1995.
Oh, okay.
So World Youth Day was the time when the Pope came to the Philippines. So this is the time that I met the Pope, and I think that changed my whole view of my whole life. That I think I'm gold. And I was so admired by Pope John Paul II, at the time was Pope, and visiting the Philippines. And he had that charisma really to attract young people. and he was challenging us to serve God, you know, and to offer our lives to God.
Do you find your work fulfilling? Or do you find fulfillment?
Yes, I've been a Jesuit for the last 17 years. And I mean, there are even our Jesuits who've been, 50 years in the society. And I'm happy. I'm so happy for the last 17 years. And I think I'll continue to be happy even the years to come as a Jesuit.
Given that I knew next to nothing about the Jesuits, I can say I found that incredibly informative.
Absolutely. He was very enlightening.
Yeah, he was. Now, Ariela, I'm wondering, how much time do you spend in South Bank?
A fair amount of time, Scott. I have quite a few friends that live there. I've actually worked there as well.
Oh, I see. Whereabouts? Because
So on South Bank Boulevard and South Bank Promenade.
there you
Both
go.
very
So you
cool
know it quite
places.
well.
Yeah, I am very familiar with South Bank.
I've got to say, I always wanted to live down in South Bank or South Melbourne even. It's such a great place because of the arts precinct. You have the Melbourne Theatre Company, you have the Malthouse Theatre, you have the Arts Centre. You have so many great bars. You've got Crown. Place to be.
We're
Place
about to explore what exactly South Bank has to offer.
Let's take a look.
South Bank was formerly an industrial area and part of South Melbourne. It was transformed into a densely populated district of high-rise apartment and office buildings beginning in the early 90s. Significant and rapid residential development has occurred in South Bank in recent years, with the population skyrocketing. The 300-meter-tall Eureka Tower. The 92-level tower is one of the world's tallest residential buildings. Is bordered to the north by the Yarra River and to the east by St. Kilda Road. South Bank's southern and western borders are bounded by Dorcas Street, Kingsway, the Westgate Freeway, and Montague Street. The life and soul of South Bank is the affluent, buzzing South Bank Promenade. This path stretches along the south side of the Yarra River from the popular Southgate shopping and dining complex to the glittering Crown Casino. It is packed with cafes, shops, and restaurants, with a sprinkling of upmarket hotels, major offices, public art, and swish new apartments. The variety of things to do and splendid city views make it the perfect place for locals and visitors to drink, dine, stroll, and watch the occasional street performers. South Bank is an important cultural hub that includes the Melbourne Arts Centre, Melbourne Recital Centre, the National Gallery of Victoria. It also includes the Melbourne Exhibition Centre and the Polly Woodside Maritime Museum.
Well, Scott, I can see why you would want to live there so much.
Very convenient. If you're at the theatre, it'd be so convenient. Just
I actually
walk
found
to and
out
from.
something interesting
What
the
was
other
that?
day. Yes, you know, in the Arts Centre where they have
Yes.
the spire that's all different
top.
colours, they
Yep.
light up. I was told that the design of that, it's actually supposed to look like a ballerina, like a
like a
ballerina's dress.
tutu.
Yeah, the tutu.
Oh, there you go.
You don't quite notice that. You just immediately liken it to the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah, no,
but it's-
you certainly do, but it makes sense, and it makes sense why you'd have something resemblant of a ballerina at an arts centre. Makes perfect sense.
Well, we'll be right back after the break as we discover the art of cosplay.
See you soon. Hello and welcome back to Mash Up, the show that showcases Melbourne.
With Halloween a few weeks ago and Christmas less than a month away, we all love dressing up in many different forms.
I do.
I know you do. And that brings us to our next story on the creativity of cosplay.
Cosplay.
Yes, cosplay.
Let's take a look.
Costume play.
Yes.
Cosplay is an art form stemming from Japanese pop culture. It involves buying or building a costume of a person's favorite character from their favorite anime, manga, movie, TV series, or video game. Cosplayers range from small-time novices to hardcore experts, which sometimes take months and a lot of money to complete a costume. Greetings!
What did you guys go through to get your costumes and bring them all together?
A very long website. I ended up just buying it online because it's 10 times easier.
Very good. What about you? Same thing?
Some guy on eBay, clearly Chinese, and then I airbrushed the rest myself because I'm beautiful.
Very well. Alright, so what inspired you to choose these cosplays out of any other character you could have chosen?
I suppose because a lot of like with the mask and like the whole body cover, like nobody knows who you are, and it's sort of rather than just having like, you know, a jacket or a pair of pants.
That's pretty much it. No one knows who I am. I can get away with everything.
Sounds
You
good.
criminal bastard.
Yes.
Alright, so do you guys have any tips for buying costumes or looking out, see which one's seedy or which one's trustworthy? Or?
Generally, if you go to a site and you can't understand any of the language, I just say avoid it.
If it's cheap, don't buy it. If it's $40, it's not worth it.
Alright, and final question. So what kind of things did you put into creating the costume? So just pretty much putting it on?
Put it on, yeah. I guess on the site that I got to, you got a lot of options on how you could actually make it. So you could have, like this one's got a removable hood, so I can take it off and breathe, unlike this guy.
What are some constraints of your costume then?
The body. The bod.
Thank you
And
guys
the fact it's all one zip, so I can't take just the hood off like this. He thinks he's special. He thinks he's special. Because he's like, I can't. I am a trooper. Get out of here.
Thank you guys so much for Thank you guys so much for the interview. Hope you have a great day.
Thank you very much.
Cosplay is done all over the world and is all about bringing a community of passionate, geeky people together.
Pretty damn cool, hey?
Yeah, really cool.
And now you've been to cosplay before, haven't you?
Well, not cosplay itself, but I have been to quite a few pop culture conventions where a lot of people do dress up.
And have you taken part in like the cosplay competitions?
Not the competitions. I've watched a few. They've been quite funny
Yeah.
because people can come up with their own skits and that thing.
Oh, really?
That's like,
I
yeah.
haven't seen that because I went to Comic Con once and I saw them all dressed up and all competing, and they awarded a couple of people prizes, but I didn't see any skits or anything like that.
No, I suppose it depends on where you go and what's
Who
organised.
did you get dressed up as?
Just for fun, I got
Yes.
dressed up as Edna from The Incredibles. So she's the really short costume designer that has the Eastern European accent.
Can we hear a little bit?
No.
Oh, come
I don't
on,
know.
Eastern European, it's so easy.
She says something like, "I don't look into the past. I only look to the future, darling."
Perfect,
Like, something
thank
like
you.
that.
You need to add a darling, please.
Darling.
So
Yes.
naturally I went as Batman when I went.
Batman, but
Yeah,
of course,
which is my favourite superhero.
we've talked about that previously.
We have. Sadly though, that's all we have time for today.
We've taken a look at cosplayers, and in just a sec, we'll be taking a look at a band called The Superheroes with their song appropriately titled Up to No Good.
But as always, don't forget that you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and even YouTube. But that's all we have time for. So good night, Melbourne, and thanks for watching another episode of Mashup. See ya.
no good. Saw you hanging around the other day. Seems kinda strange to me. Then I look back in the rearview mirror. Then it occurred to me, why you hanging around so late? Haven't you got a home? One of you bad girls staying out all night. When good girls don't stray around alone. Good, good. You're up to no good. Good, good. You're up to no good. Got a text from you the other day. It seems kinda strange to read. You don't have to try to explain. It seems kinda plain to me. With your skin tight jeans and your low cut top, dancing next to little shoes. No wonder you are the queen of the ball, with the boys and the girls on the evil crew. Good, good. You're up to no good. Good, good. You're up to no good. Come on. Good, good. You're up to no good. Good, good. You're up to no good. Two wrongs don't make it right. That's what my folks said to me. You hang around with the wrong kind of crowd, but then it's plain to see. From hey kid to 17, acting like you're 43. There's more to life than rock and roll, sex, drugs, you know what I mean. Good, good. You're up to no good. Good, good. You're up to no good. Good, good. You're up to no good. Good, good. You're up to no good.